It is therapy time. And I say this, I share this with you because I believe that therapy is a great thing. I believe that going to therapy is very beneficial for us all. And if you have the ability and the opportunity to get therapy, then you should. It has greatly improved my life. Talking to a professional who is trained and knows this stuff. Yeah, it's great to talk to your friends, it's great to talk to your family, but when you talk to a professional who does this for a living, they have insights that you don't. And they also don't do things like coddle you. They don't tell you what you want to hear because they're your friend and they don't want to hurt your feelings, or they're your family member and they love you, so they're going to support you and support your angle on things no matter what. My therapist does a really good job of leaving the question open, allowing me to come to a conclusion on my own, which is the best form of therapy, because then I work through the problem, I work through the issue, and she is there to guide me. She is there to be a facilitator for that idea, for that growth to happen, and to identify when the growth is happening, when I don't necessarily maybe feel like it is. If I I just don't feel like I'm improving. And she's like, well, I can see you are. I've seen you once a week for a long time now, and I can tell you that I believe that you are improving. So keep doing the work, keep putting in the therapy isn't just going to therapy. Therapy is taking what you learned in therapy and bringing it into your day-to-day life, and using the tools that you learn in therapy to improve everything else that's going on. I've learned breathing techniques, I've learned thought techniques, I've learned all sorts of techniques that when my bipolar disorder is up, I can bring myself into a relative position of don't go any further. You know exactly where you're at. I can manage the symptoms to where I don't get too up. I have learned techniques that when I'm down, I know that I can stop it from getting too low. And that is from therapy. That's not just from me living my life and, biting my knuckles through it. That is from going to therapy. And I know therapy is expensive, and I know that not everyone has access to it. And that's why I talk about it a lot, because hopefully maybe if we talk about it more, we put it out there more, and we just fight for it more, then maybe the powers that be in the world will give us better health care, that we as a whole, all of us, can get more therapy, and we can have education systems where more people who want to be therapists can become therapists, and it's not so hard to become therapists, because there aren't enough therapists to therapize everyone. Even therapists need a therapy. Even therapists need therapists. I just encourage you to, if you're feeling like you might want to talk to somebody, to do it, to reach out, to find a professional to talk to them. If the first therapist you come across doesn't feel right, that doesn't mean that all therapy is bad. That just means that therapist isn't right for you. It's just like dating. Just because you go on a bad date, just because you dated someone for a few months and it didn't work out, doesn't mean that being in a relationship isn't right. It doesn't mean that all men or all women are bad. It just means that they weren't right for you, or that one person wasn't the right one. So I encourage you to keep trying and keep pushing yourself and keep growing, because that's how you get better. All right, therapy was good. Therapy was good today. We talked about some pretty big things. I am going to quit my job at the restaurant. We talked through the pros and the cons just greatly outweigh the pros. I am not making any money there. Some days I'm not even making minimum wage, and I can reduce the rates of what I charge for like making social media videos and stuff like that and still make more money per hour than I do in an entire shift or week at this restaurant. And that's just not working for me. So I am going to put in my 2 weeks, or however they want to schedule it. If this is the last week they want to put me on the schedule, then so be it. That's fine. But I will give them 2 weeks, as you should, when you're quitting a job. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make myself feel a little bit better about myself and do a little shaving. I'm getting a little bit ragged all around. My mustache isn't popping enough. And then we're going to get into, I have yesterday's haul is giving me a death pile. So I need to process that, get all the Goodwill tags off of that, and get all of my tags put onto that stuff. And then then we're just gonna see what the rest of the day takes us. So the next time you see me, I'll be a little bit cut low. So I have to take all the Goodwill stickers off these DVDs and such. I'm not gonna go through all that with you because that's honestly boring to watch. But I do wanna address something that happened yesterday on TikTok. I have a writing TikTok where sometimes I give screenwriting advice, and on one of my TikToks, I got a message that said, no offense, but I looked up you on IMDB and I didn't see any big sales. What is your biggest sale to date, or what is the biggest sale you've had? And the video never mentioned that I had a big sale. It just said that I had sold a screenplay. So right off the bat, we have somebody who's starting the sentence off with no offense, which if you're not trying to offend somebody, don't start off your sentence with no offense. It frames the entire context as this is something that could cause offense, and part of me is intending offense in the way I am delivering it to you. Just restructure your comment, restructure your sentence to be something that all he had to do is say, what is your biggest sale to date? That's it. And I probably would have answered him. But instead, I decided to ignore the comment altogether because I have already addressed this on my TikTok, but I will address it here since I have not addressed it here. Looking up somebody on IMDb, especially a screenwriter, is not an accurate representation of the work that they have done as a screenwriter. No, I have not sold a major screenplay to a major studio, and it has not been created into a major theatrical event or been sold to anything like Netflix or something like that. But I have sold a screenplay. It's called A Great North Christmas, and it became a Crackle original film. If you remember the free streaming platform Crackle, it was owned by Sony for a while, and then it was sold to Chicken Soup for the Soul Network, which is now bankrupt, I believe. But all in all, in the end, it managed to make its way to a streaming platform, and that is my biggest sale to date. However, there is other screenwriting work I have done. That same production company hired me to rewrite another screenplay. I do have a television writing credit as well, and I write other things. Does that mean that I am unqualified to give screenwriting advice? It means that I probably am not one to say what is going on in the studio system. I don't know much about pitch meetings, and I don't know much about getting an agent, keeping an agent, having a manager and stuff like that. But I do try to give you the advice that I know from the path that I've been down. The analogy I like to give is if you go hiking and you're at the trailhead, you're at the beginning of the trail, and somebody comes off that trail and they say, whoa, buddy, before you go in there, just know that there is a rock about a mile in that is very slippery. So watch your step. You can then either take that person's advice and say, yes, I should watch out for that rock, or you can ignore them completely and go slip on that rock yourself. And that is all I try to do. Is I have written a screenplay and sold it, and I'm giving you my advice from the perspective of where I'm at. So if you go to someone's IMDB and you're trying to judge whether or not that person is qualified enough to give you advice based on what you see there, I would suggest just thinking a little bit further in it. Because I'll tell you this, selling even a small screenplay to a network like Crackle is a much bigger deal than not selling a screenplay at all, which is the majority of screenwriters who set out to become screenwriters. Also, I would say that if you see somebody with a screenwriting credit, that is a pretty big sale. Having sold something is a big sale. I celebrate anyone who has sold a screenplay and gotten their screenplay produced into a movie, because that process is a long process, it is a difficult process, and it is not a process that everybody gets to be a part of. So if you are a screenwriter and you're looking at other people's work, just think about yourself in that situation. Think about what's going to happen when you make a sale and how people are going to perceive you as a screenwriter. Because chances are your first screenplay, the things that you are writing right out of the gate, most likely are not going to be a major Marvel picture or the next John Wick or something like that. It's going to be something small or potentially something that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. And at the end of the day, you've written a screenplay. It got produced. Somebody thought that it was good enough to create into a movie and show to audiences. And audiences respond to me on a regular basis and tell me that they think it's a good movie. They think that it's cute. It's a holiday rom-com. It is not groundbreaking. I know that for a fact. And I've said so on this channel that I know that for me, I feel like it could be better. But I do know something about screenwriting. And I have been to school for screenwriting. I have a degree in screenwriting. And I work regularly as a screenwriter. I have two films that are I have two short films that are in production right now. And we are trying to get those worked out and made into actual pictures. One is going to be part of a feature film and one is just a standalone, which will serve as a proof of concept for a feature screenplay that I've written. So I just wanted to address that not every credit on IMDb is an accurate representation of somebody's full career. And that goes for all sorts of things. It goes for directors, producers, actors, writers, sound engineers. There is a breadth of work that is being done that you don't see. And IMDb is not the final answer on what somebody's career is. Let me be honest. I know I'm not in an amazing space. I am still struggling. I absolutely am struggling. I am trying to find my next big sale for screenwriting. I'm trying to find my next role for acting. It has been a few years since I've been on television. I think last year I got in a movie, but it has been a while since I've had anything big and significant. And that's just kind of the way it works, especially for someone who's living in Oklahoma and trying to make it work from here. I do believe you can still do that. I do believe you can make it from anywhere and have some kind of career going from anywhere. Some people believe that you have to be in LA. I don't believe that to be true. I mean, I have seen success living here in Oklahoma. All of my success has come from me being in Oklahoma. My screenwriting, my television, my movies, all of that stuff has come from me being here in Oklahoma. So, at the end of the day, what you're watching, these daily vlogs, is the reality of the life of somebody who is working through the career. Not somebody who's at the top of their game, but somebody who is most likely just like you or very close to like you. And that's all I'm trying to present. I'm not trying to present myself as someone who has sold a big screenplay and thinks that I have all the answers for you. I'm just a guy coming off the trail saying, watch out for the slippery rock. Okay, so I only had 2 shifts at the restaurant this week, and I already got one of them picked up, and somebody might pick up my shift tonight. So who knows? I may have already quit. If my shifts get picked up, I'm just going to go into the restaurant probably, I don't know, tomorrow or something during the day, and just kind of let them know that, hey, if you don't want to put me on the schedule next week, that's perfectly fine. I am going to move on from this opportunity, and thank you so much for it, but it's just not working out for me. And that's that. Somebody picked up my shift tonight. I will go into the restaurant at some point this week and let them know my official decision. Yes, I am in bed right now because I am done for the day. I don't know, we might end the video there. Something might happen, but I really got nothing else going on. I might do some writing tonight now that I have it free. But that's it for the restaurant. And I just want to leave the therapy conversation with this. While it may seem like a good idea, it may seem like it's helping, ChatGPT is not a therapist. ChatGPT cannot do what a human can do for you. I know a lot of people out there may not have anybody to talk to, and ChatGPT feels like the answer, but you need to be very cautious when you use ChatGPT to help guide your mental health. There have been disastrous results for people using AI as a replacement for a human being helping them through a problem. So just, I would not use it. So please be wary in your use of it. And with that,